Hello everyone and blessed be. Thought for this video I would talk about protection oil specifically, but talk about oils in general. And also I'm doing this from the standpoint of the witch on a budget, or for the witchy minimalist, or somebody who is just trying to do with what they have rather than go out and buy things. Again, disclaimer, this is not hating on anybody who buys anything. Like I said, I have an embarrassing amount of herbs that I have collected over time, but this is to show, again, it's a big passion of mine, is to show people you don't need all of those things. Our ancestors didn't have all of those things. They didn't even have some of the things I'm going to show in the video. I did a challenge on a Facebook page that I help admin. And it was a challenge. The only thing that you could have is some kind of vessel to put things in. A cup, a bowl, a lid, anything to put the things in. And you had to go outside and forage for the things for a protection spell. And the people who did it loved it. I did 2 of them. And it was to show that you don't have to go out and buy things. That's not the point. The point is the intent. It's your connection to the spell, to your creation, and that's all that matters. So the first thing is, of course, this is a protection oil, so you're going to need some kind of oil. Otherwise, you can do some other kind of protection, but you can't make an oil without oil. So there's all kinds of oils. You can look in your cupboard and see what you have. You don't have to get an expensive oil. Seriously, if you look in your cupboard and you have vegetable oil, and that's all you have, or you have some of the nicer olive oil, but you can't spare enough to make this oil, use a regular vegetable oil. It is, again, your intent, right? So the next thing you're going to need is something to put it in. So we're going to say this is what you got. You got this regular old vegetable oil, right? Now you need something to put it in. If you've saved a jar for some kind of food, you can use that. If you've been thrifting, you can use something like that. If all you have is this really huge, this isn't a really huge, but a really big glass jar, and you only want to make a little, you can still use that glass jar. And if you don't have any of those, let's say you have a drinking glass, okay? We're going bare minimum here. Use a drinking glass. It doesn't have a top, but you can be creative with a top. You can put saran wrap or plastic wrap or whatever you call it over the top to keep things from getting in it. Don't let... Find a way. Make it happen. I got this little jar. This is the 79-cent from the thrift store. So I'm going to use this when I'm doing this. Now, let's say you only have a small jar of oil. Well, then just put a small amount in. Let's say that's all that you have, or that's all that you can dedicate to this because you need the rest for cooking, whatever. Put in what you can. Like I said, even if you have a great big jar, that's all you have, but you can only put in a little bit of oil, then only put in a little bit of oil. And that's all you need. You need a container and you need some oil. The rest is completely your intent. And oh, and I skipped a step. So I'm going to back up because, like I said, I don't know how to edit. So I'm going to move this to the side. Cleansing your jar or your container, even if it's a drinking glass. So first you want to, of course, wash it. So let's say we've washed this and we want to cleanse and consecrate this jar. And you don't have sage, you don't have Palo Santo, you don't have Yerba Santa, you don't have any of those kind of things to consecrate this. If you have salt, you can make a salt water. You can put it in there. You can swish it around. You can make your intent that you are cleansing the inside of this jar. You're cleansing this jar to make it a sacred vessel now to hold your oil and your intent. Let's say you don't even have that. What you can do is you can hold it. Of course, clean it first, but you can just hold it. And you can focus your intent. You can say a prayer. You can do a rhyming spell. You can just talk to it. And you can tell it that you and it are now going to create this protection oil. What you are asking for it to do, to be the vessel, to hold it, to protect it, to keep it safe. And then you can breathe into it. Breath is sacred. It is your own power. Nobody else has your breath. You can breathe into it as you're talking. You can run your hand around it, clockwise if you're wanting the protection to come to you, counterclockwise to repel negativity. You can even do both. And it's as simple but as deep and important as that. You really want to cleanse this in some way and consecrate it. I can't say that word now all of a sudden. For the working that you're about to do. But really, honestly, your breath is so magical, so special, so powerful, and absolutely unique to you and only you. If you have sage, you can go ahead and you can sage inside it. But again, we're talking bare minimum, and then we're going to work up from there. So there's that. So now back to putting oil in the jar. And you've already blessed. You've prepared the container for its part of this oil. Told it what you want it to do. And now you want to tell the oil what you want it to do. You can put your hand over it. You can again lift it up. You can rub clockwise, counterclockwise. You can hold it in your hand. And you can breathe into it. And you can whisper as you're breathing in. Kind of a raspy breath. And tell that oil what it is you want it to do. What is its job in this concoction, and what you need it to do. Protection, repelling negativity, road opening, anointing. If this is what you have, these are tools. And they are there for you to push your intent into, to create. And it can be done there. Now, of course, you can get elaborate. I do a lot of oils that have a lot of things in it. Crystals, herbs, objects, things like that. And those things are just as powerful. What I'm trying to show is you are the power. You are the intent. You don't need all of those things. I guess the best way to say it is you aren't weak without all of those things. Okay? Those things can be extra tools. They can embellish. They can really help your focus, but this can be just as powerful. Now, again, we're talking protection spells. So we'll up it a little bit. Let's say you add some salt. And basic salt. It can be this kind of salt. It can be this kind of salt if that's all you got. It can be sea salt if you have that. Salt, of course, is very cleansing, protective, and purifying, but it's also a blank slate ready to absorb your intent as well. You can pour some of the salt into your hands. You can put one hand over the other, or you can draw protective symbols into the salt in your hand. You can pinch it. Let's say 3 is your special number. You can put 3 pinches in. You can say something each time you add one of those pinches in there. Then again, now you've added the salt. So now you pick it up and you hold it. Or if you want to lay it down and put your hand over it, whatever feels right to do. If you start following somebody's recipe or even one that you wrote down ahead of time, and let's say you get right here and you go to dump it in, you're like, that doesn't feel right. Stop. Take a breath. See what feels right. Maybe pouring it in your hand feels right. But you can add the salt. And again, these items have more than one magical property. You read up on any of these, you're going to see several magical properties that they can have. So you want to tell it, I've put you in here for this purpose. I've put you in here for cleansing, or I've put you so you can clean it with salt water. That was the cleansing. Now you can add more salt for protection. You can tell it that you're putting it in here with the oil and mixing it with the oil for protection. You ask it to provide protection with this oil, and otherwise, you know, if it has 3 or 4 properties and you're not telling it which one to do, I hope you can see where I'm going with that. So let's say you add some salt. Now, if you have it, you can add some pepper. If you have the little packets from a restaurant or something, you can put some of the pepper in there. Pepper can strengthen it. It can repel negativity. It can still do all that without the pepper, but it's an added layer. Now you're doing another step. You're thinking deeper. The process is taking longer. You can add a rock you found outside. You can put it in. You can put it in front. You can put it on top, because this was around your home. Or you found it somewhere and it just felt really, really, really protective. This is actually a very special rock that I found out around my parking lot. Pine cone. Pine cones are very, very protective. Or you can, again, just leave it like that. You can get dirt from outside your home. You can add the dirt in here. The home is it's your home, it's your castle, it's your environment. It is good for a home protection, but it's also to make it more you too. This is my place, stay out. The same with the rocks. You can get sticks from outside your home. You can put sticks in a square around it. You can make little tiny twigs into a pentacle or whatever shape feels protective to you. You can do the protection ruin with sticks, and then put each piece of the stick in there, even though it's no longer shaped like the protection ruin. It was when you laid it out. Again, asking that stick, letting that stick know what it is, what its job is, what part of the team it is in your mix. And if you have a candle, you can light a candle. I would not put a candle in the oil. You can use a little piece of aluminum foil, heat up the bottom, stick it to here, and that can be your working candle. You can carve this candle. You can write protection. You can write it coming down to you if that what makes you feel like that will draw it into you. Also, if you want to shout out protection, you can write it up and burn it, let it go up and have your request for protection go off into the universe. Depends on how you feel about that. You can use a tack to write in there. If you have a little nail, you can use that to write. And another thing that I do a lot, even if I have the tool, it's something that I like to do a lot, and I do it more with paper or petitions. So I'm going to put this down and I'll move on to that. So if you want to write a petition, you don't have to. If you want to, this is the piece I cut of a paper bag. If you don't have anything like that, we all get the dreaded junk mail. And the envelope is blank. You can cut a piece of this out. Not everybody has paper laying around. Not everybody has paper bag. But let's say you have this and you want to write the petition, or you want to draw a protection rune on it, or a sigil, or you want to write your name and then write protection, and then fold it towards you. But let's say you don't have a pen, you don't have a pencil. Let's say you don't want anybody to see your business. You can take a toothpick or the tack or the nail, and you can write. Now, it's not going to leave anything that anybody else can see, but you know you did it. These words are meant only for you to see. You don't want anybody else to see them. But one thing I do often, and some people might think that, anyhow, is I take the piece of paper and I cup it and I hold it up to my mouth and I whisper to it. I whisper my petition. I put my breath on this paper. To me, breath is so sacred and so magical, and like I said, it's so unique. Nobody else has my breath. And that can work. That can be amazing, actually. So try with different things, try different ways. So let's say you didn't have any of these. You have your oil in here. You didn't have salt. You didn't have anything else. Whether you had things from outside, whether you had dirt, whether you didn't. You have this oil. It is your responsibility to make sure the intent is strong within you. You can't just pour some oil in here, flip it closed and say, I have protection oil. Well, you can, but that kind of defeats the purpose. But if you have spent time with this jar, you've cleaned it physically, you've cleansed it in some way, salt water, your breath, whatever. You have told the container what you want it to do, what its part in this is. You've put the oil in, you've done the same thing. Breathe on it, give it your breath, give it your intent, your magic, and you sit there and you hold it. Like I said, you can run your fingers around. Protection. Dispel negativity. Make the bad things go away. And then you close it. Now, if you have a jar that doesn't have a lid, or if you're doing your drinking glass, you probably do want to cover it with something. It can be, like I said, saran wrap. It can be foil. It could be a coffee filter. It can be a cut up piece of your shirt. That would be really powerful. You can put a rubber band around it. If you watched my unboxing of the mystery boxes, black thread, black to me is very, very protective. You could wrap it around there to hold whatever it is you're holding. You could take this, you could wrap it around here. If you only had a little tiny piece, you could tie it to one of the little arms right there. If you have a Sharpie and you want to, you can do a protection rune, a protection symbol. You can write protection oil if you want to. You can do the same on the sides. And also, you can charge this. You can charge it in the moonlight. Or if you feel the sun is more protective for you, you can charge this in the sun. You can take the foil and you can put it over the top, almost like a mirror spell. Shiny side up is going to deflect anything trying to get in there. Shiny side down, well, both sides are shiny. Shiny side down is going to keep whatever is in here in. So you can actually use this stuff for like mirror spells. But you could put it like this. You could put a rock on it. Like I said, you can charge it in the moon. You can charge it in the sun, whichever feels right to you. I have done both, depending. The sun is a very powerful to me in my practice in some ways, and the moon is very powerful depending on what I'm doing and how I feel about it. You can burn a candle by it. Again, it's oil, so, you know, pay attention to that. With a tea light, a birthday candle. If you have a big candle, you can put it in a bowl and put dirt around it from your home. You can put objects that you found around your home. And you can decide that you want to charge this for a magical number of days. You can charge it for 3, 6, 9, 1, 24, whatever feels right to you before you consider it okay to use as a protection oil. Then once you've decided it is ready, you can use your protection oil. You can dab it on yourself. It's vegetable oil, you know, it's not going to soften your skin and remove wrinkles, but that's not really the purpose. You can dab some on objects. You can dab it on pieces of paper. You can sprinkle it outside if you want to. Whatever you would use a protection oil for, you have protection oil now. So again, I just wanted to show that whether it's because you're on a budget, whether you want to be a witchy minimalist, or whether you just don't want to go out and get a bunch of stuff until you feel ready to. And I will do some very simple things like this when I feel compelled to do them. Sometimes I do very in-depth, very, I guess, not high magic, but more ritualistic, where they have a lot of steps, maybe not a lot of ingredients, okay? This can have a lot of steps to it. You can create your own personal ritual around a jar with some oil in it, because you can make each step of the process very, very unique, very, very powerful, very emotional. Not just a whole bunch of steps just so you can say you have 24 steps to make your oil, but where each of those steps really means something to you, really gets that feeling going inside of you. And to anybody else, it looks like a jar with some vegetable oil in it, but you know better, right? So I hope that makes sense. There are some amazing videos out there with some amazing protection oils, and there is absolutely nothing wrong with any of them. I make some oils, like I said, that have a lot of steps, and I make some that have a lot of ingredients, but I also make some that are extremely simple as far as the amount of things that go into it. Now, as far as my intent and the steps, not simple. And that matters to me. So, and it doesn't have to be a lot, but I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. Another thing about intent too is your mood. Your mood matters. I firmly believe, I guess, to each their own, right? And this isn't so much about protection, because like I said, I kind of do absurd examples. But let's say you have some friends at work, or you have some people at work, and they're kind of picking on you. They always go out to lunch together. Nobody asks you to go, and that kind of hurts your feelings, and you kind of want to be included. And let's say you want to do a sweetening jar, okay? And let's say you're putting your sweetening jar together, and you got your honey in there, you got all your things laid out, you're doing it, and you're like, I want them to like me. They need to ask me out to lunch, and I want to go. Okay, sorry. That even made me a little crazy, but I hope you get what I mean. Intent, mood, all matters. That's all that matters. But here, this can be a jar of some amazing protection oil. It can be a glass of some amazing protection oil. Like I said, if you want to do an oil, you have to have some kind of oil. Other than that, think about the intent. Make every step matter. Build that intent. Build your energy up inside so it's all focused. It's all funneling towards that intent. And you can do it. And I'm going to stop babbling now. I hope that all made sense. And sorry for the little weird thing at the end there. Anyhow, side note, the book with the funky energy is doing much better. I've actually sprinkled some salt in between the pages just because I'm not totally happy with it. And maybe I'll do another video update on that at some point. But right now it's kind of still in its timeout. And I'm going to end this right here. So blessed be. If you could please give me a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and hit the little bell so you know when I upload another video. Yay, I remembered to say it. Have a great night.